Hello and welcome, sisters, to Return of the Priestess. It's good to have you here. This is Dawn DelVecchio, your host and facilitating priestess for this series. And today we are going to be bathed in the blessings of Mother Mary. And it's going to be really a sweet journey for us, and an interesting one too. Now, before we go there, though, as always, I like to invite us all to gather together our energies, our focus, and our presence by a little grounding and centering exercise. So, if it's safe to do so, you can close your eyes. I'm going to close my eyes. And you're welcome to place one hand on your womb space and one hand on your heart space if that feels good to you. And we're just going to take some breaths together. So go ahead and just take a nice deep breath in. Really allow that breath, that life force energy to draw you into this now moment and this global sister circle. And as you exhale, let those shoulders drop, let the belly soften, let yourself feel into this present moment awareness. And again, breathing in, using the breath as a vehicle to come into center, and exhaling to release that which does not serve you in this time. And again, another breath in, opening yourself to receive the transmissions, the blessings, the learnings, the growth of this time. And exhaling to extend that breath out to reach your sisters around the earth. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. And today our talk is Messages from Mother Mary. So I want to introduce our speaker. She is the founder of Seven Sisters Mystery School. Marguerite Rigoglioso is a scholar, practitioner of the ancient Mediterranean mystery traditions, spiritual teacher, and also a clairvoyant guide. She mentors her students, helping them cultivate spiritual knowledge and bring their sacred calling to fruition. She's the author of 2 books that explore women's shamanic abilities in an evolutionary new light. Marguerite, thank you so much for being here, and I hope I said your family name correct?
Yes, Rigoglioso.
Rigoglioso.
The second G is silent.
Okay, it's like DelVecchio. It could be DelVecchio, DelVecchio. So Rigoglioso, thank you. Thank you for being here, and it's a joy to welcome you to this series.
I'm really honored to be invited and to be here today. So thanks, Dawn.
Well, I like to start by inviting you to tell us a little bit about your spiritual journey, your spiritual path. What brought you to the work you do now, and also your connection with Mother Mary?
Yeah. You know, it's always such a long path, and where do we really say that it begins, right? But, you know, I would say that I came into this lifetime probably with a mission that I didn't realize I had until things started evolving and developing over my lifetime. One of the pivotal moments was when at the death of my mother when I was a child, when I was 10 years old.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, that was a very big initiation. And her name was Marie Dolores, which means Mary of the Sorrows. So it's only now, as time is unfolding, that I'm really fully getting the significance of that, you know, that she carried the valence of the sorrowing Mary. And, you know, that's one of the things that we're healing. We're healing ourselves as women. We're helping to heal our world and move from the sorrow place into more of the joy place. So that was a big initiation. And from there, you know, we'll fast forward to when I started connecting with the fact that women were oracles, women were channelers. I started becoming aware of Jane Roberts and Sanea Roman and those types of women who were bringing in this high dimensional information, which fascinated me, I started at the same time getting involved in the goddess movement through various of the leaders that were taking us on trips. And I started going to Sicily and Italy on these ancient goddess pilgrimages. And I found the work of Maria Gimbutas, which was telling us that, you know, old Europe used to venerate sacred feminine women and goddesses. And that led me to go to graduate school. I thought about going to archaeology school, but I couldn't find any school that was honoring of Maria Gimbutas's work.
Oh,
And so I decided, okay, you know what? I don't need to go and suffer. I'm going to go to a school that does honor her work. It's not an archaeology school, but it's a women's spirituality program. And that was the California Institute of Integral Studies, which is still alive and kicking with their women's spirituality program. And that was really the accelerated beginning, where I delved very deeply into coursework, became a scholar of the sacred feminine, and really started living out my understanding of the goddess through exploring sacred medicine and open states of consciousness, where I would have living experiences of these goddesses. I met a partner at the time, a male partner, who was a very important teacher for me along those lines. And one thing just led to the other after, you know, kind of coming, I got to the Bay Area in '99, and I finished with all of my graduate school in 2007. And I was starting to teach academically. And then in 2012, I met a coach who helped me weave together all of my experiential information, my oracular information, and my academic information into Seven Sisters Mystery School. And that's when I really started putting the pedal to the metal even more, really going deeply into the oracle path myself, starting to deliver messages for clients, for groups, for world, and teaching more and more on the esoteric experiential level with who the goddesses are, who the gods are, what's the bigger picture here. And one of my premier areas of research was on divine birth. And that was my dissertation. My dissertation was all about divine birth as a real practice of real women in not only European antiquity and ancient Greece, but essentially all over the world. And that was my touchstone back into the Mother Mary of my childhood, growing up Catholic, to fully understand what she was about, and that this was not just talking to us, telling us that she was a passive sort of victim to her own pregnancy who had nothing to do with it and just sort of stood there and got pregnant. No, I really came to understand that she was the orchestrator of that event. And, you know, we can go more into that, but that was my entree. And then I really began to work with Mother Mary personally over time, because I realized that my intellect was running away with itself. My emotional body had not caught up. And I had a lot of healing to do, of childhood trauma, karma, and things like that. And that's when I started working with Mother Mary as a mother and as a mentor, a spiritual mentor.
Wow, what a beautiful story, and many things I can relate to. I do definitely want to get into the divine birth. That's a big piece of what I'd like to discuss, but I wanted to tease out a couple of things here. Gimbutas, first of all, she was very, very influential for me as well. So for those of you who don't know her, Maria Gimbutas was an extraordinary archaeologist who put together a body of work that's jaw-dropping in its scope. And I actually took a pilgrimage to Çatalhöyük
Ooh.
where she also did work and really explored all of these ancient images of the goddess and said, no, this is not a fertility cult.
Yes.
This is a culture. And again, there even a mention of her? Was there even anything? Zippo, nothing.
Horrible.
Yeah,
Horrible. It's
yeah.
gone.
So thanks to Dr. Rianne Eisler, who brought some of that into her body of work, we have a lot more information through the Chalice and the Blade and the Center for Partnership Studies. So I just wanted to speak into that because it hasn't come up in any of the interviews so far. And I feel like Gimbutas's work, although she wasn't necessarily doing feminist spirituality stuff, it's foundational to the reawakening and the reclaiming of our feminine power and our rise at this time.
Absolutely.
Mm.
Yeah. Our history, our future.
Yes, our history, our future, our history, our future.
Yeah.
So we've already touched on that your latest work is focusing on Mother Mary, and you did share a little about what led you to do this research. But I'd love to hear more about what you've been uncovering, what you have uncovered, both in terms of the research and your own personal work with her, your oracular work, and this whole concept of divine birth. So fill us in a little bit more. And I
Yeah.
just want to add one little caveat here. I have a degree in feminist studies too. So for us, back then in the 80s, this idea of a feminist birth had this taint of patriarchal BS. So, and a lot of resistance to that concept. So I'm very open to hearing and having a new way of understanding this.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, like so many things, the idea of divine birth as being something real came to me in a moment of revelation or inspiration. I had been researching Demeter and Persephone as the mother-daughter goddesses in Sicily, and I was reading a Sicilian woman's book, Anna Maria Corradini. Her book was called Meteres, Mothers. And she basically said the Demeter and Persephone birth story of how Demeter conceived and gave birth to Persephone was originally a virgin birth story, a parthenogenetic story. Zeus had nothing to do with it. And I was like, truth. And I was standing in my brother's apartment in Brooklyn, and it was like I just received like the shaft of light, like this wasn't just the goddesses that were doing this. This was something that women were doing. So then I started, and at the same time, I had been reading, I can't remember if it was before or after, Drunvalo Melchizedek in his books, The Ancient Secret of the Flower of Life, basically said, well, I really don't know what to do with this, but Thoth told me to tell you that the virgin birth thing of Mary was real. Okay, so I knew that I was going to do my dissertation on something having to do with priestesses of ancient Greece. And I started looking for all the mentions and evidence in these ancient texts of priestesses of ancient Greece. And as I had this thought in my mind, divine birth was real, I started looking at this material, and there was a ton of material to show us that these women had been engaging in various kinds of rituals to divinely conceive avatars for thousands of years, going back into Greek mythology. So I was focusing on Greece. But all of the stories of the, quote, rapes of the maidens all figure into that. Those are latter-day descriptions of women's divine birth rituals that kind of went wrong in a way, in that they were trying to parthenogenetically or virgin conceive, and in their altered state, they would be visited by a male god who would essentially rape, seduce them. So this is talking about a very esoteric thing, which is interdimensional impregnation.
Wow.
Okay. The earlier stage was the woman going into parthenogenesis. She would become one with the goddess of the whole creation reality through an erotic kind of self-encounter. The later stages were the gods started getting in on the act, and they're like, we want you to give birth to our children on planet Earth. We want to populate planet Earth with our patriarchal seed. Sometimes these were positive children, sometimes they were negative children. Okay, the positive ones were Plato and Pythagoras and the like. Negative ones were like Theseus, Perseus, and historical Alexander the Great, one of the Caesars, Julius Caesar. You know, there are these stories.
The war gods, basically. The war
gods.
heroes.
The whole entire Roman reality came to birth from a virgin, a Vestal virgin that had sex with the god Mars and gave birth to Romulus and Remus. From there, it was all downhill. Okay, so I started uncovering, and in my book, The Cult of Divine Birth in Ancient Greece, the first one, the second one, Virgin Mother Goddesses of Antiquity, I detail all of the information and the sources and how I made these interpretations. Naturally, of course, I was thinking of Mother Mary, but it's almost like I got the mechanisms first by looking at the Greek tradition of how they did this divine birth, and then I was able to look at Mary's story. And then when I looked at her repressed gospel, the infancy gospel of James, and this is the topic of a whole course that I have called Mary, Conscious Priestess of Divine Birth, as well as my book that's going to come out in 2021 with Inner Traditions, Mary and the Art of Miraculous Conception. I just signed the book contract as of this filming. I am detailing how that suppressed gospel that did not make it into the canonical New Testament is filled with all the codes of how Mary was in a lineage of divine birth that started all the way in the Hebrew tradition with Sarah's miraculous birth of Isaac, included her mother's divine birth of her, and included her relative Elizabeth's divine birth of John the Baptist. These women, these are not happenstance. Oh, God granted these poor postmenopausal women, finally threw them a bone and gave them a kid. Not what it's about.
Right.
This is a training, okay? And in all of this gospel, you see how Mary was trained in her mother's sanctuary from the time she was 6 months old. At 3 years old, they sent her to the temple for the rest of her adolescence, where they trained her. And then from there, it describes this ritual that they call a weaving ritual, but was really like a tantric and inner tantric interface with light and sound at the quantum level, so that she was able to pull in a soul such as Jesus.
Wow.
Yeah, major
and this is, which gospel is this? What is it
It's
called?
called the Infancy Gospel of James, but the original title of it was Birth of Mary. Okay, Birth of Mary, and that's what I call it in my book. I call it Birth of Mary in my book. Okay, so I know that we're having little like recording glitches, so I'm hoping that everybody's hearing.
Yeah,
I to repeat anything.
I think it's come through. There's like the pause, but then it comes in really fast. So hopefully really it's clear to everyone. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is well beyond dogma, but ironically, it validates what Christianity has been telling us, but then they tell us and then they hide it. They rely on this story for their whole entire religion, but then they hide Mary's agency, control, and mastery. They hide her mother Anne's relationship to all this. They hide Elizabeth's relationship to all this, which, by the way, I discovered Elizabeth was Mary's aunt, her mother's sister, not her cousin. And we find this out in the Islamic Quran. So I've put together research from numbers of different places and piecing together this information. And because I knew the codes from the Greek tradition, I was able to look at this infancy gospel and say, aha, that's what they were doing right there. That's what they were doing right there. This gospel is revelation. And in fact, at the end of it, the author named James, who is likely the son of Mary's guardian Joseph, not husband, guardian Joseph, says, I had to go into hiding and I received this through divine Sophia, divine revelation. Okay. So that's what the course unpacks, and the first course that I did, and that's what the book unpacks. And then there's the whole story of my personal experience with Mary. But I'll just pause there because I know we do have a little time.
Yeah, well, that is a lot of information. And I mean, I would love to go into the real, the juicy details, but of what are these processes?
Right. Well, they're in the class that I'm doing right now.
Yeah, I was going to say, people can find out, women can find out. And I'm also thinking about how the learnings of inner alchemy are coming more and more back to us. But you had said something, you said they hid Mary's agency, control, and power, which is basically a blanket statement of patriarchy.
Exactly.
So it's not in that sense a surprise. And this is radical information.
Radical.
Yeah.
It's so radical that, whenever I talk about it, I just feel like, oh my gosh, the waters part, it's so intense.
Yeah, it really is. And what a mantle for you to carry, actually. I just want to acknowledge that.
Yeah, it's been pretty intense, and it has been a humbling path for me, because in order to be able to bring this information forth, you have to have a lot of chutzpah.
Yeah.
You have to have a lot of third chakra energy, which can lead to ego, right?
Mm-hmm.
But believe me, I've had my ass sufficiently kicked to heal the karma that would continue those kinds of behaviors or those wounds. Like I've had a lot of major humbling. A mother dying is a huge humbling. It's a huge karmic payback. And all of what happened to me in my life with various abuses and things like that, it's a huge karmic release if you know how to do your inner healing.
Indeed.
And if you know how to really address your own shadow, like what you have been capable of in your past lives and in this life, and you know how to love yourself back into wholeness. So that's the process that Mother Mary has guided me in as we've been going along. First, just simply for me to go back into her womb, and then for her to rebirth me and hold me, and then for her to remother me, and then for her to exalt me as my mentor, my spiritual mentor, helping me with these insights, helping me understand how she was the highest level being who ever walked the planet, bar none, including her son, helping me to understand and find her other suppressed gospels, and then work with her to have my own healing, a miraculous healing that I had, which is part of the free gift. People can find out about that in the free gift talk. We won't go into that here, but there have been stages that I've gone through with her. And the whole thing with her is about, she helps you to heal, then she helps you to elevate and ascend not ascend, but inscend.
Inscend.
And as we reveal who she is in her elevated state, we come into that power within ourselves. So it's this figure eighting that's happening right now. As Mary is being unveiled in this way, women are going to be able to take this power for themselves, and she's there for that.
Mm. Wow. Gorgeous. I just feel it's a soft power that I'm feeling, almost like an embrace.
Exactly. Soft power and speaking truth with kindness are major things of what she's about. Major aspects of her ministry.
Beautiful. So there is, before we get into the experience you're going to share, there's one other thing I'd love for you to touch on for a couple, maybe talk about it a little bit, a couple moments here. I understand you're also uncovering a lot about her leadership after the death of Jesus. So anything you want to share there?
She was a major priestess. She was a major feminist. There are writings, even by some of the Christian fathers, who say Mary came to liberate and exalt women. She was a mentor. She helped them go out and teach the spiritual principles of herself and Jesus and the Magdalene. She would have them come back to her and be their supervisor. And she was a huge healer. And we have these descriptions in some of her suppressed gospels of what happened during her samadhi death passage. She was healing at her deathbed.
Wow.
People who were in her sight lines and people who were in the towns and people who were out elsewhere. She was doing a massive healing of physical specific ailments that people would have, gallbladder, whatever. They're listed, you know.
Wow.
So, yeah. Okay. It's all been there in these gospels that have just been discarded, ignored. But I'm putting them all together and uncovering this. And then she was a master of the womb. So not only do I talk about how she divinely conceived and all the training that went up to that, but in the second book that I'm going to have coming out, I talk about her as the master of womb mysteries, and the person who has brought that to light is the late Hindu saint Sri Kaleshwar. What Mary did with Jesus when he was in her womb. The mantras and the prayers, the intentions, the connectivity with the angels at the wee hours of the morning. She knew how to connect with Holy Mother Divine's Holy Womb Chakra to cultivate this child as an avatar, not just conceive him, but cultivate him in the womb and then continue to teach him afterward.
Wow.
So she was also, therefore, a teacher of the Magdalene. It's breathtaking, earth-shattering, and it's all there. It's information that's all been available and that people can seek out, and that I'm helping folks to connect with through this class, the Mother Mary Mystery Teachings, and through these forthcoming books.
It's paradigm shifting.
Paradigm shifting.
And perfect for these times.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Absolutely perfect for these times when, as we're filming, we need much in the way of healing.
Yes.
Much in the way of illusion busting. Much in the way of empowerment. Much in the way of fear releasing.
Yeah. Yeah. Beautifully said.
We don't really know what's going on as we're filming this. And
yeah.
An unfolding, you know, for days, weeks, and years to come about what this really means for us.
Indeed. Indeed. Yeah. We're in a big shift, and it's not necessarily just a one and done kind of thing, and not necessarily what it appears on the surface.
Exactly.
And it's my feeling that it is, in part, the priestesses and the sacred feminine leaders rising to hold the space, to hold the container, to hold the frequency
Yeah,
We are master teachers in the non-physical, such as there,
absolutely.
that are going to navigate this for better rather than tumbling into another round of dominator culture chaos, which we don't need anymore. We're done.
No, we need grounded, humbled, empowered women
Mm,
to be able to come in now and offer their gifts and offer their leadership, as you're saying, in co-creative partnership with these masters on the other side, who include Mother Mary, who include the 7 starseed sisters of the Pleiades, who include, many, many other beings. The fairy, she, subtle being realms that are close to us in the earth plane.
mm.
Many of us are doing this work, and your summit is very timely.
Yeah, and I had no idea when
No,
this began, as
exactly.
it's the goddess guiding me, kind of nudging me along, and here we are. Now look, everything's virtual at the moment anyway that we record this. So
Yeah.
yeah, and many extraordinary transmissions are coming through and blessings. So
Yeah.
and so with that, you have a guided healing meditation for
Yeah.
us. Is that right? So
Something,
what
yeah.
I'd like to do is just mute myself and let you take it away. And when you take us out again, I'll unmute and we'll wrap
Yeah.
up.
Yeah. And this is something I'm just going to open and connect with Blessed Mother to receive in this moment. Okay. All right. Yeah. So just inviting everybody to just take a deep breath in and out, and feel your womb or your pelvis, whatever your gender as you're listening. Feel your feet, feel the center of Mother Earth, our principal, primary, and closest goddess. And we call on Blessed Mother Mary in her rainbow quality. Call on the Mother Mary that you intuit is right for you in this moment, whether you've had a previous relationship with her or not. Just invite this Mary. She may be black, white, brown. She may be she or fairy. She may be something else. Just call on this high holy energy of this highest being who ever walked the planet, completed her many, many lifetimes on this earth through divinely giving birth and divinely releasing her body. And just let her come and put her hands somewhere on you, whether it's her hands on your shoulders or your heart, front and back, or your womb. Just feel her. Feel her as your ally, your friend, your guardian, your guide. And just feel her sending a flow now to you. Somewhere in your body, mind, or spirit. It could be your heart. It could be your womb. It could be your third eye. It could be your back. Just let her send a flow to you. A flow of loving, empowering, healing, and supportive energy. As you gently, to the best of your ability, open more and more to her presence, just feel and sense, what is your question right now for her? What do you most need to know or feel or hear right now to guide you and guard you in this time? And ask that question of her. And now just allow yourself to receive. Play with your thoughts and your feelings. Allow yourself to receive that guidance, that information, and that inspiration to you from her. And if you wish, ask her now to be a guide, a mentor to you. To you, holy woman that you are. Ask her to help provide what you need to amplify yourself, update your frequency, heal what needs to be healed, and receive the information you need to be a guardian and a guide on this planet right now. And feel your heart. Feel her heart. Feel her activating your wise heart. Feel her activating your wise womb. And feel her activating your sight and your crown. She is giving you now the crown. This is your coronation. And just receive her crown of stars right now. Thank Blessed Mother Mary. And know that you can call upon her anytime. Blessed be.
Thank you. Beautiful. Thank you. I would love to hear from the sisters listening your experience with that. I know I felt for me it was activating a more deeper connection with my solar plexus and my heart chakra is what I'm needing right now. And I could feel her moving the energy through there, or showing me to move the energy through there. So please, sisters, share in the Facebook group what your experience was and what's coming up for you with this very radical, empowering, and for some controversial information. I'm very eager to learn more with your work, Marguerite, so thank you. And if you would please share how women can get in touch with you if they too would like to learn more.
Yes, I recommend they just go directly to my website, sevensistersmysteryschool.com. The 7 is written out S-E-V-E-N. And when you get there, you'll see pretty much right up top a mention of the Mother Mary Mystery Teachings class. And when you click on that, that's when you're going to be able to get the free gift. It's the video called Meeting Meet the True New Mother Mary. I
Mm,
talk about my journey with Mary, my miracle experience with her, a little bit more about who she was, is, and shall be, the course. And there's still time for people to join in on the course. It's running all the way through June, and it's in replay, so people can jump in anytime.
great. Thank you. Thank you so much, Marguerite, for this beautiful connection and gift to share with our sisters. So thank you. And thank you, sisters, again for being here, for holding this space, for nourishing yourself by showing up to these calls, these interviews. And may you be blessed. And please do join us on the next call. And until soon, we will see you. Much love.
This would be
Blessed be.